It's main event time. And now, I give you your incredible... Oh, come on.
You have sinned a great sin in the sight of God. You are not worthy to receive these 10 commandments.
Violence. It is an inherent part of what it means to be human. A dark lust for blood woven into the fabric of our very being. In elderly texts such as the Old Testament and ancient myth from every corner of the world, violence not only exists in the background, it is held up as perhaps the most prevalent of all human traits, commenting on how easy it is for us to resort to bloodshed as a means to an end, above all else. Tales of brutal revenge, tragedy and murder, they represent the evil within ourselves. But for all our wars costing the lives of millions, for every gruesome murder on news stations that serve to shock and disgust us, there is one thing that violence has always done, and will continue to do, because it is forever bound to human nature, and that is to entertain us. Violence as entertainment was born in the Colosseum. Gladiators locked in epic and ferocious battle, a blood-splattered race to the last man standing. How could this be entertaining? The act of watching one human hurt another in this way. The same could be said for public executions. Here we see the justice system exploiting a host of repulsive means of disposal for the criminals in society. Burned at the stake, hanged by the neck, stoned to death or locked in a stock to perish from exposure. These methods were invented to serve two purposes. That of doling out justice, and also to strike fear into the hearts of those who may try to emulate unacceptable behaviour. But it proved to serve an unintentional third purpose: entertainment. Once again, we see the bustling crowds flocking to witness death taking place, just as they had done in the great Colosseum thousands of years previous. The question remains, why do we find it so captivating? Oh, Zoe, did you drop your jelly bean?
The ball!
Were you fucking around with it?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Perfect.
Oh, wow, that's another one snapped. Lovely.
Oh! I kicked the camera.
Just sit there. The question remains, why do we find it so captivating? And this type of entertainment has taken many forms throughout history. From the murderous depravity of gladiator death matches to the brutal cage matches of today, it has shown constant change and dilution from its barbaric roots, until what you have is the cinema. An art form drenched in blood, violence is as much a part of going to the movies as laughs and teardrops are. Right from its genesis, visual storytelling has relied on criminal activity to thrill. Bottom line, we like watching people die in all sorts of outlandish ways. And the reason for that was the same for Roman plebeians in the Colosseum as it is for teenagers in a modern theatre. And the one element which must remain intact is distance. Distance between the violent act and the spectator. When we go to the movies, we are very much aware that it is a construct, a fantasy built on actors and corn syrup. It's the very same way how the Colosseum allowed the audience to view gladiator fights. You don't perceive the bloodshed as a real, immediate event, because the two men you're watching beat each other to a pulp are all the way down those steps. They're practically murderous specks from where you're seated. And that disconnection is essential to entertaining violence. It's what makes my grandmother such a fan of kung fu movies. Hardly a violent person, calling her mildly confrontational would be a stretch. She enjoys it because she knows it's not real. The graphic content has been designed to have fun with. And when you lose that sense of distance, and the viewing experience becomes all too vivid, you get what I discussed in my Entertain Me Respectfully video, insofar as that the audience stops having fun and begins to become repelled by the imagery. But as long as that balance is maintained, and audiences are kept happy, violent entertainment can be used for either a recreational activity or a powerful political tool. When the public is preoccupied with something amazing, something to break up the mundane slog of everyday life, they become content to the point of complacency. Entertainment can be used for the malicious purpose of maintaining control of power over a society, something which the movies have reminded us of time and time again. Ridley Scott's Gladiator offers an inception effect of the ideas at play here. We come full circle as modern audiences take their seats in the theatre to watch Roman crowds gathering around the amphitheatre. Both are here for the same thing, an unbridled bloodbath adventure. But what about the man who decides the fate of these warriors? The man who paid to build the arena? The guy who runs the show? What is he here for? The emperors of Rome would often use the Colosseum as a centre for propaganda. What could be a more efficient method of pushing a political agenda than enthralling the public with an action-packed extravaganza of death and wild beast hunting? Simultaneously, the people of Rome subconsciously became submissive to the empire's values, while also being under the illusion that they had not lost any political sway. The illusion being that they could in any way influence the emperor's decision-making process. And this manipulation of an audience for political gain has been present throughout the entirety of cinema. From the racist cartoons and the work of Leni Riefenstahl during World War II, to more modern examples of American propaganda. Among the accused include Pearl Harbor, American Sniper, and Zero Dark 30. But the movies I want to focus on are those which choose to criticize entertainment as propaganda. Films which are crying out for their audience to realize what a government can do so long as they keep you shoveling popcorn into your face. The irony being, those very films themselves have to be equally as entertaining as the propaganda they've chosen to scrutinize, or else no one will have the attention span to listen. These films comment on how much the modern audience member consumes on a daily basis, constantly hungry for more, demanding their content to grow in scale and plunge even further into outlandish territory, until what we have is a not too distant future where entertainment has regressed back to the days of swords and sandals. And in this not too distant future, wars will no longer exist, but there will be Rollerball. If our future is in any way destined to resemble that of Norman Jewison's Rollerball, a world run by a network of shady multinational corporations, then God help us all. Imagine a future where we no longer vote on a presidential candidate for office. Instead, our citizenship acts akin to a single share within an overlord company, voting on its next CEO. A planet which traded in the crucifix and Star of David for the Apple logo. Everything in this world, from electricity to food distribution, is controlled by each of the enterprising corporations. You dress yourself in clothes and fill your fridge with Walmart goods. Your car runs exclusively on Chinese national petroleum. And with these corporate entities fueled by such immense power both politically and financially, their rule bears the terrifying resemblance to a dictatorship run by committee. So in order to keep the good people distracted from this political nightmare, they give them entertainment so high octane that they fail to see the madness all around them. This is where Rollerball comes in. Like a Frankenstein's monster of roller derby, shot put and glam rock, each team is named after the city in which it's based, and each are owned by a corporation. In the case of James Caan's Jonathan E. and the Houston team, the Energy Corporation acts as its leading sponsor, the film's version of General Electric. During a meeting between Jonathan and a high-level executive of the Energy Corporation, it is explained to him that although Rollerball functions primarily as a source of entertainment, it also serves a distinct social purpose, exemplifying the futility of individual effort. By taking the team-based nature of Rollerball and relaying the world's favourite sport back to its audience in the form of a twisted social message, the corporations are successful in convincing the public of their similarly team-based interconnected leadership ideology. And this theme of government control of public political mindset is carried through to The Running Man, which depicts North America as a totalitarian police state which subdues its populace by broadcasting a game show where convicted criminals fight for their lives in a gladiator-style gauntlet of death, the grand prize being a chance for pardoning of their crimes. The Hunger Games bear similarity to both Rollerball and The Running Man in terms of a televised bloodbath brainwashing the masses to appease a government. But here we see that in perhaps its most grotesquely oppressive form, as two tributes are selected from each of the nation's 12 districts to butcher each other in the Hunger Games, an event which was established as a form of punishment following an attempted rebellion of the impoverished districts against the gleaming capital, ruled by the tyrannical President Snow. Rather than use the Hunger Games as ideological propaganda, it acts as a searing reminder to the slums of what happens when you thwart your masters. As for the wealthy residents of the capital, copious riches and the phenomenal entertainment of the annual Hunger Games ensure their callousness. This representation of a populace fooled by a government might seem farcical. It's all a bit cartoonish, like lambs too easily led to the slaughter. But it begs the question, does this happen in our world? With all our movies, novels and lessons from the past which yearn for us to be cognizant of how entertainment can cloud and abuse our sense of political awareness, Do we keep making the same mistakes? We root for General Maximus, Jonathan E. and Katniss Everdeen, but do we identify more with the jeering crowd screaming for more? On April 20th, 1999, the US government used the hysteria of the Columbine shooting as a means to quietly drop more bombs on Kosovo than it had ever done on a single day previous. Media coverage was quickly rerouted to focus on the shooting, stealing public attention away from the death of innocent Serbian civilians. While it may not be entertainment in a traditional sense, it still involves an entire nation huddled around screens, gripped so tightly by what they are being shown, they become oblivious to the world around them. So the next time you find yourself disgusted at how lurid and over-the-top movies, music and TV have become, just remember that this is entertainment at its finest, edging ever closer to its original form in all its depraved, bloodthirsty glory. This is what you wanted. You asked for a superficial world of scandal and manufactured beauty, all built on a foundation paved in bloody violence.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think we are, even if we don't want to admit it. But then again, what do we know? Happy with that?
Paddy, that was beautiful. Paddy! Beautiful!